came from the golden sun, born into creation, with love as my witness. I am human. Koro oro koro tira kara sara koro sina kara oro koro toro sine tira. Holy Father, Sacred Mother, I'm a child of the sun. And all the unraveling and all the unfurling through the shadows of self has led me back home. Yeah, I rode the dragons and I tamed the lions and looked in the mirror till it shattered and fell. Yeah, I am the hero that took the fool's journey out on the front lines with nothing but love in my gun. Came to carry the threefold flame, be a pillar upon this plane, rebirth divine, human template. And all the unraveling and all the unfurling through the shadows of self just led me back home. Yeah, I rode the dragons and I tamed the lions, looked in the mirror till they shattered and fell. Yeah, I am the hero that took the fool's journey out on the front lines. Nothing but love in my gun. Yeah, I was a fallen and now I am risen and my cup runneth over. I drink from the Holy Grail. Da 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 da. I came from the golden sun, born into creation, with love as my witness. I am human. Koro oro kora tira kara soro oro koro tina do oro koro shite kara stakara. Holy Father, Sacred Mother, I'm a child of the sun, here to co-create a new world, co-create a new world, co-create a new universe, co-create a new world. Co-create a new world. New world.
That's pretty amazing. I got to say, that's absolutely amazing every time I listen to it. Hang on, let me turn your mic on. Oh, wait, it was on. Wait. Okay. I can't hear you.
I've
Wait,
got it. Don't mute it
I can
again.
hear you. No. What's going on? How you doing?
I'm really well. How
Yeah,
are you doing?
I'm good. I'm
You've had
good.
a good
Just rolling
day.
with the punches, rolling with
Yeah.
the punches every day, you know. I never really give much to these, what was it, Mercury retrograde through day after tomorrow.
Is
But
it?
seem to be pretty visible. Yeah. I think I'll keep my eye out on the next one.
Yeah, right.
So what's been going on with you and how's your mom doing?
Yeah, Mum's really
I
good.
look
She just bought a new house and is settling in and doing some gardening and yeah, just
have you
enjoying
guys
life.
had any have you had any light language conversations lately?
We haven't had any light language conversations, but we've certainly shared some similar experiences.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
What, do you want to talk about it?
sure.
Like, what are you talking? Yeah.
Well, we were talking about, well, she shared an experience with me. So, because, she's got pretty good sight. And she said, I had this experience. This was just a couple of days ago. And she said she was on um, like a train and she saw two different sets of tracks. And the other tracks had this whole old reality, right? And she's on the other train and she said the other tracks just went off and stopped and they disappeared, and she was told, don't look at the other tracks anymore, just stay on these tracks that you're on, right? And I was like, wow, that's so similar to what I was shown um when that old dissolves and we're like on new tracks. It's as though, and even the way she described looking at it was like just observing it, not part of it, but really just knowing that it was falling away. And then she felt the fragility that we've all been feeling and that we go through, um, of that old way of being, of knowing, of experiencing, I guess. And it's like a loss. It feels like a loss. Um, and I mean, it's intense, right? Going through these deaths and rebirths and feeling the fragility every time you sort of, um, every time you go through it until you get through your own stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. This is a subject that's coming up. I like that what she saw because it's it you know people have been talking about walking down, like walking in two worlds. So you see it as like walking, the two tracks are like you're in both of them, and then the
yeah,
split to me makes sense because that's what the like the solstice and the first of the year 2020, that's what it represents to me. It's like, it's clearly like there's like a period, like a preliminary period where you get to see all this stuff, and then I don't know, I guess kind of make a choice, because
yeah,
maybe there won't be a reality where you're walking in both, simultaneously. Maybe you can pop back and forth, but
yeah. And
yeah. and then
I
and then
guess
the other
from,
thing,
yeah,
no, I was going to say the other thing that you brought up too was the whole, I mean, everything seems to be like moves in a circular motion, like even, the seasons and the plane, all that stuff. But it's like what people have been talking about. Morgan and I have been talking about it, and I've talked to a couple of other people about it. And that is like, we've all gone through that cycle where we're like pulling down information, like pulling down downloads and epiphanies, and we're elevating all of us. And, like say you have communication with this essence or this guide or whatever, and then all of a sudden everybody leaves, and you're like standing there going, okay, what's going on here? Where'd everybody go? And we've all been through that, but like recently, it seems like to me, what we were talking about is like they leave so the human aspect on its own can can cross that hurdle, that next bridge or threshold.
Exactly. I've found exactly the same thing. It's funny you bringing up these things, or we're bringing them up together, that are right in my face with others that have been coming to me and asking me, is it normal? What happens when it goes quiet? And it's always that, okay, you've got so much information, so much knowledge. It's time to put it into experience, which then becomes wisdom, embodied wisdom, right? And it's as soon as you take everything that you know, you start walking your talk, putting it into practice, going through your stuff, doing the shadow work, doing whatever you need to do, right? Because you've got all the guidance. Yeah. You've got everything you need to get you through every stage.
That's
Once you
very
get
true.
through that, you get another flood. Here's another flood of information. Now you put that to practice. And it's like before the, there's these voids that we go through. And I went through a huge void a few months back, and a death, and almost a physical death too. And it was quiet as heck. It was just nothingness. Yeah. No drive to do anything. Completely nothing, just nothing. And functioning in that way is very difficult because the mind is still there. And it's like, what's the point of even being here if I don't want to do anything? I've lost all drive, all the desires I had, I'm no longer interested in. I'm just existing. And that part of being in the void, that dissolving, the total dissolving, when you come back out, it's not as though you lose all your personality and all your passions and everything all together. What happens when you come out is you now have a totally different drive within you. It's from a place of purity, from a place of oneness, from a place of unity. And those passions and desires are coming from that place. If they weren't, they're not there anymore. They just dissolve because you see them for what you wanted them for, a lack of whatever it was. And there's no lack, right? So you just need that dissolving, and it sucks, and it feels like crap, and it's, but it's all perfect. It's all part of it. It's just a total surrender. That's it. What else can you do?
Yeah. I wonder, I wonder if, cause there does feel it, even like with the 2 tracks, like your mom saw, there seems to be, it feels like that. It feels like something's coming to an end,
Yeah.
like a phase, and it's almost like we've been through it, and it's like, they say the calm before the storm or whatever, but I guess what I'm saying is, I wonder if the rules are going to change, so to speak, come 2020. In other words, if you look at what Franco talks about, or say Jason Estes talks about, or even Amanda Lawrence, where there's a certain element of our reality that's gone now, which could be something, one example of that could be the tracks we're running side by side. We were simultaneously in both, and now they split.
Yeah. As that old, because we're all consciousness to hold reality, and consciousness holds reality in place, right? And the collective consciousness creates a grid. That's the reality, whatever it is. When you unplug from that grid, like so many of us that you would call forerunners, whatever the label, when you unplug from that and you plug into your own grid, and then a new collective consciousness of humanity, which is not really a new collective consciousness, it's the one that's always been there, right? You plug into that, you can see why the old train tracks go nowhere, because the grid just falls, or the veil falls, whatever you want to say. And so here's a quickening right now that is just like this huge vortex, this quickening, and we're causing it. We are that, right? And so we're pulling it all in as the galaxy is moving into a new spot too. It's all happening at once, right? And so for me, a huge universal gong went off, this sound. It was like, right, this is it. Step out, shine, hold the torch high. You're in service now. This is the time where, and I saw a huge wave coming behind me of what you'd call second wavers that were right on our wave, right? And it's like when they come down and they come into this, they're going to be looking. They're going to be looking for support. The wave behind is not that far either. It's huge. So it's this time now is the time of way showers actually coming in to their own, having gone through this purity that, this was the year of purity through purging. And I remember we had this conversation last year. You said to me, what's next year? And I said, purity through purging. You said, oh, I hate purging. And I was like, so do I.
Yeah, that's all I did this year.
This is all we've done, right? And in March, that Diamond Gateway corridor we were talking about at the Purity Portal in March on the 21st opened. And there's a real deal. So it's like whether you wanted to consciously go through this purity or not, it was happening. It was happening for us. Labels were coming off. It was happening in our dream state. It was happening in our meditative states. It was just happening for us. And when we allowed it to come off and sit with it, some of the labels you don't even know you carry half the time because it's so stuffed in that unconsciousness, So that's been continuing, and it feels like that 9-month corridor will finish on the 21st of the 12th, right? So we still have some stuff to clear. Because if you want to lead, if you're here to be what we came here to be, and everyone watching this show and interacting with us is here for the same thing. To get us all through to this next stage, on this track. And so when you lead from the front, you lead by example, right? Having done your work, you walk your talk, you are that, you become that.
Your walk makes it where you don't even, your walk makes it where you don't have to talk. You just walk.
Well, exactly. But if you got to talk, well, what have you got in your life that backs that up? What do you, because they want to see, people want to see it. If I put my foot in that water, what does it look like?
Yeah. It's a soft, impressionable, but powerful, and new in the sense that it's not as vocal, like that energy that you're talking about. It's like that knowing so strong, like you said a minute ago, get up, get to work, you're in service now, and so on. What I look at too is like, so I can think more clearly, like 2017, 2018. And I remember 2018, people were like, oh my God, I'm glad that's over. And in 2019, so, each one of them had levels of intensity. And 2019's not been a cakewalk at times, but I got to say, it's getting better every single month. I mean, no matter how intense, like October was really intense for a lot of people, but it's still not like it was a year ago. There was a lot more distortion, and a lot more distraction. So I got to believe 2020 is, I don't know, it just feels like more than just a year changing, or a decade changing. It feels more than that. It feels like there's a new math, there's a new rule book, self-empowerment. There's, I don't know what the words would be, like there's protection in there, there's support there. The truth is aligned with it and so on, or honoring it or reciprocating it, but something is really starting to take root now. And I just think with, the way numbers align and planets align and this and that, solstice coming first of the year, I just wonder if, that's, synchronicities or alignment or whatever you call it, because it sure feels that way.
Yeah.
And we're doing, we're
bringing it because how many, I don't know about you, but in those years we were talking about, just to even think about that, I feel so dense because I was so attached. Even though I wasn't consciously aware that I was so attached. I would have said, I'm not too attached, you know, I'm pretty good.
Yes.
I think I'm
Yeah, you
I'm
would have
in
said, I'm
great
okay. I'm good.
I'm all
I'm a
right.
good person. I'm a good
Yeah,
light worker.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all about unconditional love and
Mm-hmm. I
yeah.
don't look at the dark. That's not me. Doesn't
Right?
exist.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
but that's a really good, yeah, that's a good point. Um, that's a really good point because if I went back to 17 or 16 or 15 and when I started SoulogyOneStudios and I obviously was following guidance, going through the same thing people went through, being, made fun of and all that stuff. But let me put it this way. So like 2015, I met Morgan. I never really had ascension conversations until I met her. I read a little bit of it, but I did my own thing, right? And so, like, there's a part of me that knew it was true. There was a part of me just like that knew when I came together with her, there's something bigger here, beyond like earth love or whatever. But I guess what I'm saying is, all of these aspects of the ascension or whatever you want to call it, there's not, I don't have the dialogue in my head anymore. Like, is this really happening?
yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, even if when I start to play that tape or whatever, it just doesn't last.
Yeah.
It won't stay. It's like, it's falling on deaf ears, basically.
Mm. Yeah. It's awesome. There's definitely been that shift for me personally. Um, like you said, there used to be that little voice that went, I wonder if I really might be just losing it or,
Nuts.
you know,
Yeah, right.
yeah. And it doesn't come in anymore. And
Mm.
before it left, it was like, how much more um, evidence do you need, you know? And
Well,
I'd let it go,
yeah,
right?
and it's funny because there's a direct relationship to, I mean, when I had that conversation, I've had that conversation, you know, and it's like, how much more evidence do you need? And I heard another voice say something like, well, how much more punishment do you want? How much more
Exactly
suffering do you want?
right.
How much do you want?
Exactly right.
It
It's
is.
it's
It-
self-punishment,
yeah.
self-judgment, that whole thing. And what's really beautiful for me now is so many people, so many of my friends that, I mean, I wouldn't use the word ascension or anything like that, coming back into my life, just they're on their path. Whether they
Yeah.
whether they say I'm on the path or whatever, they're like, they've been watching and listening to these things secretly, right? Because they admit
Yeah.
it.
Right.
They admit it. And they're like, oh, I just saw that. And, that kind of something rang about that. And can I just chat to you about
Mhm.
it or whatever it is? And that's happening in my reality
Yeah.
everywhere I go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the evidence of this, let's say train tracks where we're headed, for me is just here. And um, it's just so, for me, so focused. That's where the focus is. At the same time, playing in this observer mode as all things are possible. And it's just such a magic time. I can't wait for next year. I'm super excited. I'm
Yeah.
loving where I am, but feeling this collective knowing of where we're all headed when we come into our fullness of who we are is it's such a beautiful thing. And
Yeah. And,
mm,
and I just, I've been thinking about this for the last few days. Like, you look at disclosure or conspiracy theory. I wouldn't say the new age, mm, you know, uh, thing really had that type of, um, you know, awareness of it, put out there. And I think to myself, when are you going to start seeing this? When are you going to start seeing, Gayatri talking about dragons and so talking about this, and the Mary Rodwells of the world having more exposure, the ones that have been doing it for years? You know, I don't know. Maybe that's because I want to see a platform out there that doesn't give the world a choice, because so many people come to it and share their stuff. And I think there's millions of people. I really do. I think there's millions of people. You can't see the metrics with Facebook and YouTube. And, and like in our example, until we break away, we really won't know. But I know that number is a lot of people. I'm not saying a million people would come into a Soulogy network the day it's launched, but I bet you 100,000 would. And how many Soulogys are around the world? There's a
Yeah.
lot. There's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's, to me, the disclosure. To me, that's like validation. That will be when I'm going, okay, all right, this shit's getting real.
It is getting real, and it is real, and it is definitely that time, and that need for this sort of information will be everywhere soon. And now, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it is. If you look at how far we've come in the last few years, and even just talking
Oh yeah.
about disclosure and that sort of thing, but um, I guess the whole thing is that when people aren't used to hearing it, they don't believe, their mind is not open to it, and therefore they won't see it, right?
Yeah.
The more this is talked about, shared, and
Yeah.
then it opens that realm of experience for others to, wow, experience that too. It's just it's that belief thing that gets in the way. So the more we
Yeah.
flood our love and our sharing and everything else, it just creates um,
Yeah.
that train. That
And I think that that one of the things that we're going to come into knowing too is, and again, we can talk about it, and I'm sure we understand it to a degree, and that's the fact that how it works in terms of energetically something happening, and then it happens on the timeline, because it's actually happening quicker now.
yeah,
And and so, like, you know being conscious of that, we're like, if we stop the wheels right now, how far would just the force of our motion take the timeline? I mean, we've already done probably the bulk of the work, and now it's a lot of it's just got to materialize, because it's already being magnetized together, and all that stuff.
yeah.
I mean,
And
it's
have
and
you
I
tried
and
to
I see
stop the
that.
wheels? Have you tried? Yeah, lately, have you tried to stop the wheels? You can't.
Yeah, you can't stop the wheels.
You
No, you
can't.
can't. That's a good point. As the individual goes, so goes the collective. But you're right. You
Yeah,
can't stop the wheels.
you
Yeah,
can't.
yeah.
There used to be a choice, right? For me
Well,
personally,
think about it.
there used to be a choice, and it was
Yeah,
like I can go unconscious for a bit, and I can play there. And now it's the choice is gone. It doesn't even exist anymore. It's just not there. You are
well, look at the.
in your fullness when you are
Yeah,
participating in whatever you're participating in. If you even entertain the idea, there's nothing behind it. It's like a brick wall. There's just nothing there.
mm, yeah.
Um, so yeah, you're going to get dragged.
Well, it's like, I mean, look at what we were talking about at the top of the show. So you have all this stuff come in, and then you go into this period of where is everything. So we're
Yeah,
asking, where is everything, when a year or two ago we're like, hey, stop, man. Stop the wheels for a little bit. And you did have a choice, and you would hear that,
yeah,
and you've heard people say that in their own transmissions or whatever, their own, and they would say, you can tell them to stop. Well, I don't think that's the case anymore. I was telling Morgan last night, because this energy came in last night. She took a nap, like she went down. I knew, I could see it building. She went down. She was like finalizing something. And as it happened, I think I got off the show. I walked into the next room, and I heard this loud ringing, and it was like, sit down right now. I'm like, all right. And I just focused on it, but I kept feeling like this, like if somebody was standing in front of me, like lunging at me, not like trying to get me or anything, but I could feel the force of this energy coming in. And that's what it was like. It was kind of like, you don't get a break.
Yeah.
We'll take care of you, but you're going to keep this thing moving.
Yeah. And it doesn't it feel like that creative urge that you get as an artist, where you just, it just comes right through you from your
Yeah.
stomach up to your heart, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I got to get this out. I have to connect. I have to do this. And
Yeah.
that seems to
That's,
be just present for me constantly. And it's like, disclosure kind of, okay, opens, when we go through these experiences and we see these celestial kind of things, and we speak with our, future selves, guides, whatever, galactic beings, we set up the framework, the grid work, if you like, for our experience, so that every time we go there, it's more vivid, right? So when the last time I connected I connected to a galactic grid, right? And it was like, here you are, in all your forms. This is all me. None of it felt separate from me, but it did feel like a tremendous coming home when I came into this universe, into form. I know where I came to. And I know that voice that was always within me from when I was little and started writing and talking to me. And it was so beautiful just to know that all along, that was me. And that beautiful family that when I came into form, that's where I came. And who
yeah.
else I shared aspects with as well. And everything you kind of need to know is there. Almost like, if you ask the question, for me now, if I ask a question, it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another thing that's going to happen along those lines of what you're talking about is, I think one way or another, because you can't stop the wheels now, uh, that, things are going to be continually put in front of each of us, so whether it be you're laying in bed and you have an energy come in the room and it's like, okay, the the old method would have been like, that's not me, you need to leave. Now there's maybe a thought of, if I'm everything, I'm everything. So we're integrating everything. So whether it be a person you don't like, or whether it be a spirit you're not familiar with, or whatever the case is, we're going to have to accept unity consciousness at a human level. And the other thing is, another way to measure it to me is like, what do you have to be angry about now? Is there anything left to be angry, or anyone left to be angry at? I mean, that's a pretty simple deal. So I'm not saying it's simple to get rid of it, because I'm still working on stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm
Because
sure everybody else is.
there's like two streams. Yeah. From what I've experienced when I came into form here. Some people call it a dream reality in form in our universe, from 1 to 12 dimensions, right?
Mm,
In form.
mm,
There's also that other presence, the all presence, the all that is present in everything. That is participating as an observer in this experience through all your soul aspects. So the idea that our soul experiences, say a galactic war or something like that, and it's awful for that galactic being to see. There's that part that understands that they are in form experiencing this, and they are, from that higher perspective outside of this dimension of form, all things, present in all. We are all things. Yeah. And so
mm,
the experience of it changes as we move through the dimensions. And it's not as though the polarity and the denseness that we experienced here within this grid work, this is why the purity, so we don't have a grid work like this in our next phase of form, right?
Yeah.
What we're doing here is collapsing that whole 12 dimensions. The scale is huge. That old dimensions of form, we as the 13th of our 12 projection are creating a whole new dimensions of form to experience. So
I agree totally.
it's a huge thing. It's huge, right?
Yeah. And I think too, the other thing that I think people are starting to talk about more is this shadow work thing. And you know, because how do I connect? You know, how do I do that? And, you know, how do I have these experiences? And we think, you know, let me try this method or this process or this meditation. And I think it's starting to become clearer that if I just remove these shadows, you know, in other words, if I seek my multi-humanality as opposed to my multidimensionality, the multidimensionality is going to come as a result.
Yeah,
it's going to come.
It will.
So I think that you know lends to it going back to no one's going to do it for us. The human's a hero. It's a personal trip and part of the process I think is taking full responsibility, not just for your shadows, but simultaneously taking responsibility for what we're creating.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to expand on that, something just came to me to share that when I was in times of great need, going through death, and really, like those times where homeless and nothing left.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, right.
Was that back then or is it now? I don't know. I'm kidding.
I used to ask these questions of my guidance, and I would want answers for my problems to solve this issue. I want to feel better. I'm sick of this. I'm done. Give me the freaking answer, right? And I would get a whole load of information that had nothing to do with my situation. It was a way higher perspective, right? And then I'd write down the question again, and I would get an agreement of, okay, yes, you are dying. Yes, this is a death, and it will continue. And it was really, it was almost like geez, tell it like it is. Thanks. But it came with a knowing that, okay, what I'm going through, I understand I'm meant to. I don't want to go through it. But that guidance, a lot of people at this stage, I'd like to say maybe to use discernment when asking for guidance about these material problems, these things in our life that we want to fix from this place of lack, of wanting, of whatever. If you get an answer that says, okay, this person's doing that, whatever, they won't give you that. This person that's tapping into a different realm. That's tapping into another realm, a realm of the old. So say if like when I used to do readings and I would see what sort of trajectory that person is headed. Yeah, you could give them advice. That all sort of opened up for me in a different way. And so I stopped doing it because there were so many trajectories. And I thought, well, if I pick one and I say that, it's going to help create that. So I better pick a really good one. And then I'd be like, well, why don't I just let them pick? They're the creators of their own reality. And
exactly.
so it sort of went around and around, but that guidance that comes in and says, you know, it comes with a different feeling. Higher guidance is just a knowing, an absolute that comes through your body, and it comes with a sense of calm. And it comes, you can be at the brink of death, and you can be in total, just a pool of tears, naked. And all of a sudden this calmness comes in and it just settles. And you might get a minute of reprieve. And in that minute, you just know everything's going to be all right. You just know it. And then a minute later, you might go back into your story and fall apart again.
Well, of course. Right.
But you've got this knowing, you've got this inner knowing that it's going to be all right. So there's a fine line between when we're learning to tap into higher guidance and deciphering what is actually my mind wanting this to be true, what is another realm of possibilities to what is the highest version of me that's coming through, the highest aspect of me.
How often do you tap in at that level? Like on a couple of shows where you had these major downloads and that type of thing, does it just happen, or do you have like a routine?
I used to be every day, and then this year I had the biggest breaks of silence, you know, and then I'd get this huge thing that would happen. And during the silence, I was busy integrating everything, rereading everything I'd written, working out whether I'd had some more work to do. Yeah. And then when I'd integrate something would jump out and I'd go, wow, that's profound. I'm going to work through, integrate that. And I'd sit down again. And there was probably a month there where every day I sat down and nothing. So I was like, okay, I'm going to just sit with it and go over things. And I'd always find something. And now I'm back into every day, and I'm back. It's like I've come around full circle, and I don't want to do anything that's not for what I'm here for.
Yeah.
I'll just say, what is it today? There's still me, and I've still got my passions, my desires, but they're all what I'm doing anyway. They're all part of being me. I love to help people. I love to assist people. I love to write songs that assist people. And they're things that I let go of only to find that they came back in anyway, in a more pure form, not from a wanting or a needing. It was just a thing. This is what I am. And so I can pull this guidance in. I just am this guidance, right? It comes from within me again.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm
think
it's weird.
Do you think that, like, okay, like we've all kind of figured out you can't plan anything, all that stuff, but at some other level, like if you just take your situation, like without any concrete plans, you know, or much concrete plan, do you feel like that you and that maybe all of us, or do you feel like that your clarity on, let's say, Yvania a year from now, Yvania 6 months from now, like maybe there is a connection there is a site involved there, it may not have details, but you kind of, in other words, kind of have an idea, like an intuitive idea of where you're headed with this?
Yeah. I think when that gong went off, it was like, right, it's kind of more than an intuitive idea, just a knowing. That's about it's a clear pathway, where before I couldn't see a pathway, I made a pathway through that experience, and I continue to find things. It's not as though I've arrived in this place of just some people are here just holding the grid work, right? And they're we've all been there when we've experienced that total stillness, peace that runs through you, right? That is the 0 point of the creation of the grid, of the holding of that reality. And then there's you that has to experience that reality too. And there's a lot of you that is experiencing that reality, right? I've just forgotten where I was going with it. I've gone off on a tangent, but
hey, that's all good.
what did
Don't worry.
I got lost
I
in
was
the
actually looking at a comment from Nathan, and he said, "Really love your clear, well-articulated way of speaking and wisdom, Yvania. Resonating a lot here." And then you've, you know what? It happens to me. This is my 4th show today too. So,
yeah.
I'm gonna take a 25-minute walk, 30-minute walk up to the store here in a minute because our car's in the shop. We're waiting for it. So whenever that comes, so we can get on the road.
On the road.
That's kind of what we were talking about, though. We were kind of talking about, you were saying that not necessarily intuitive, but I'd put it another way. So like in the old paradigm, we had, okay, I'm going to get this job. I'm going to live in this house. My bills are going to be this much this month, each month.
Yeah, no, that
my
doesn't
pays
happen.
this month.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And so, but like, and that was supposed to make you feel comfortable and secure, but we never did. And it's weird because now there seems to be like a sense of, okay, I know the direction I'm going. It's, you know what I mean? I know that. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable, or I'm growing comfortable. As we grew uncomfortable in the other template with the more toys and the more stuff, we're growing, you know, we grew less comfortable. And this one we're growing more comfortable, but there's less guarantee, less knowing at the human level, but there's that knowing at the other level.
Yeah, it's a total switch. We go where we're led. We go where we know that. Let me try and get this into words. It's you just know. You just know where to go. You know, but you're not wondering 5 minutes before, right? You're not wondering about it. You're not worried about it tomorrow or next week. I get dates that I get invited to events, and I'll be like, oh, I better pop that there and not forget it, and just leave it. And it suddenly comes up, and I'm like, oh, that's today. No worries. Whatever. But if I tried to plan it, it hasn't been working for me for the last, let's say 9 months. It just has not been working because it's not the way we do it. We just, you just know where to go. When you know, when you don't, you don't. And that's fine too. When you don't know, it's perfect because you don't know. It's not.
That's right.
Pathway,
don't do anything.
The pathway hasn't opened up yet. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not time to do. It's time to be.
Yeah.
There's a time to be and a time to do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and part of the doing is not doing. Like knowing not to do. That's what you're doing. What are you doing? No, I'm not doing anything. That's what I'm doing, and I do that. I think it was 2 days ago. It was like, like I had a bunch of waves come over you and just like laying on the beach. You're not like, but the whole day I'm like, I don't feel like doing anything. I'm not going to do anything, So the not doing is a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what's happening too is, there's this, people talk about the great divide, and like your mom's vision of the 2 tracks, that's representative of everything. So the contrast that is a gift, and bigger gift now than ever in this duality, is the contrast of, say, something like you're talking about, like seeing or being or experiencing or doing or seeing an old paradigm running in terms of, let's say, vocation or whatever, and then seeing the other one, seeing the one that's like I was describing, you're walking into something that's really unknown. You kind of have an idea and you're growing comfortable with it because it's working, even though it looks nothing like that other thing over there. But you can really see the difference even if you slip off the track for a little bit and go, okay, this isn't working. It's blocking. Something's blocking. My lack or my scarcity quotient or lack of security quotient, or whatever the case is blocking me. So
Yeah. Or the
that's good for us
unconscious.
because
Yeah.
that's
The
good for us because we can
unconscious.
make better decisions.
Absolutely. And just randomly for me lately, I could be making a cup of tea or doing anything, and all of a sudden I just get into my mind comes somewhere in my life where I've been unconscious and I've acted
Hmm.
unconsciously, and I'm put into that experience and having that exchange with another person, and
With an mm,
where it's been, where I've been unconscious, where I've unconsciously hurt someone, or whatever it may
yeah,
be. I've been put there and it's like, oh, it feels like I'm having, heart pain. It's like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. It's like,
right,
and then
yeah,
I pull back and I'm like, I'm sorry. I love you.
hmm,
Yeah. I
yeah,
can see that. And it's for me and for the other person. And it dissolves. And then it's like, well, okay, I can move on. So when we get used to doing our own work, everything sort of moves for you. So even if you don't know what you need to work on
mm,
next, and you still feel there's something, it'll come up. It'll
yeah.
come up. It'll come in dream
Well,
state, come in
oh yeah,
just like that sort of thing. Everything comes up
yeah,
for us when we just allow it to be. And there's no judgment. Self-judgment
mm, mm,
is the one that we let go of.
yeah,
We 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 just let it be.
yeah,
The noise
yeah. I mean,
stops.
it's
There's no
yeah,
self-judgment. It just stops.
yeah. It's just like you're talking about the past memory, or even having something come in like a download. I mean, it's really the same equation when you get right down to it. You take it in, you whatever, integrate with it,
Yep.
and then you keep on. You keep going. No attachment, no judgment, and
Yeah.
everything's kind of like flipping. Like emotions were this in our life before, and now they're becoming this other kind of thing, which is like emotionless emotion. You have a deeper love, but you're like, okay, why am I not crying? Or you know what I mean? Because think
Yeah.
about it. If all the elements of emotion are dissipating, the old ones like anger and sorrow and all that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Because the the way the way I have been told or know is that purity is love manifested into knowing. So those emotions, we don't have them in the other realm, because the emotions were they it's so hard to explain, but the purity and the love and the knowing, it just is. Everything
hmm,
just is. And so when someone comes to you in this emotional state and they're experiencing in their reality all this turmoil, and it's all emotions, yeah, and all these beliefs are circling around, and you stand there in your knowing and you hold space,
yeah,
because there is
yes,
nothing that you can do other than stand in your space of that frequency, and just you feel emotionless. And we talked about this last time, it's almost a
yeah,
coldness, emotionless
yeah,
emotion, but it's the
yeah.
strongest, most powerful thing that we can do for others. the
Man,
old
that
way the old way of doing things, the old wounded healer that used to do
mm,
it's all gone. It's all
that
It's all
Yeah.
frequency now. It's all holding space, sharing tools for that person to become conscious of, to help them
Yeah.
become
Or
conscious
your,
of their own stuff.
yeah. Or yourself. You know,
Yeah,
you're sitting there, you're saying this right now, and I start thinking about the first 2 years when I was on the streets. And I remember, as you're telling me this, I remember a part of me doing that for me, a part of
yeah,
me not getting caught up in all the chaotic drama, hysteria that was going on, and actually holding space.
yeah,
And I remember this, it was daily.
yeah.
I guess in a sense it was the two tracks. I don't know. I mean, it was there all the time. And
It's
it
always
wasn't, it
there.
was, yeah, yeah,
It's always been
absolutely.
there. Our whatever you want to call them, higher aspects, all of us is always holding space for us. Always. It's
Yeah.
but it the channel is not free to flow when we're stuck in our own belief pattern, mindset, whatever it
Yeah.
is that needs to be cleared up. And you go into denial. It's so easy to protect that that belief, that ego, that way of being, that old whatever, you know. And you can't sneak through. I've always said this, you can't sneak through and jump on that train and hope that it's going to be okay. Can I get on the train? Because I want to go
No,
there, right? Because
you,
it just, you have to go through that. And it's not as hard, and it's, when you're going through it, it sucks, it's scary, but there is that stillness within that is holding space for you to do
yeah,
it. You can do
yeah.
it. You
It ain't
came
gonna
to
let you go anywhere.
no,
You know, it's not gonna let you go anywhere.
no,
It's there with you.
yeah,
You know, that was weird that came back when you were saying it, but but I guess that's really what we do. I guess that has to go with, you know, healing, forgiveness,
yeah,
compassion for yourself. Because
yeah,
man, you know, I mean, we all went through it. We all had a set of assholes in our journey, and like you said, you know, then you have these memories looking back when you were, you know what I
yeah,
mean? So it's, yeah, but I really think that the you know, that whole looping or whatever, if you've done the work, you know, I don't even know if that's a true statement, but I mean, it's just not being allowed to continue to play. You know, you know what I mean? It may go on for a day or two or three or whatever, but it's just not going to be allowed to keep playing. And I
yeah,
guess in relation to that is, what are you not looking at in yourself? You know, but I always go back to what Morgan told me a long time ago, you know, about our, you know, life. She was like, you know, so, and then sometimes it's you and sometimes it's me and sometimes it's just the energy. So, you know, I mean, you know, you can say, hey, if you've done enough work, this is going to happen, but how do you really know? Like you said, you can't
yeah.
stop the wheels.
No,
The
you
soul
can't.
train's running.
And
Yeah,
you'll
the soul
know when
train's
you've
running.
got something. You'll know because you'll have a
Yeah,
reaction. You'll have a reaction.
yeah.
And how, if you are reacting to something, there's something there.
Oh
There's
yeah.
something there. If you can
Oh
interact with
yeah.
it, if you can interact and see it and go, okay, that's an interesting play out. I
Yeah.
don't feel any attachment to that. No. But if you're reacting, if something gets you, then
Hmm.
it's yours. It is certainly yours.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any reaction is
I did that
yours.
the other day. I woke up in the morning. I don't know what the hell was going on. And I walked outside. Oh, I was running late. I had a 10 o'clock and stayed up really late. Anyway, I had like 10 minutes and I came outside and I was, you know, and then I walked outside in the back and it looks like 3 or 4 minutes later. And I was like, what the hell was that? You know, I was like, I need some help, you know, da, da, da. And then I was like, wait a minute, that's you, man. Like you were
Yeah,
projecting. And I'm like, so then the show was over. I went outside. I was like, Morgan, I'm sorry, I was projecting. I didn't know I was. She goes, you didn't know you were? I said, no, I didn't. You know, I didn't. I did 3, 4, 5 minutes later, but I didn't know, you know.
But how quick
But I
was that?
find,
How quick was that?
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
that was
it just
groggy
happened
too.
so
I was off the
quickly.
time. Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's not a
Yeah.
bad, it's not a bad thing. You
No,
know, we
no.
can be too hard on ourselves.
Yeah. It's like, I think that, because it's funny because like people talk about healing doesn't apply anymore because we're perfect, and I'm sorry doesn't apply because there's nothing to be sorry about. But I really find that for me, that, and I don't have to a lot or anything, but saying it is helps me. It helps me not to be attached to what I did. Like that's kind of how I do it for myself. I'm like, okay, I need to say something. Like from an integrity level, I need to say something. I don't care what the other person. I just need to say this, however it goes. I'm not going to have like an expectation or reaction or what they do say or what they don't say. And it's like for me, I can leave it. I can just leave
Mhm.
it. It's done. I'm done with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You are who you
Right
are. You
on.
say what you say, and you
Yeah.
and you move on with
Yeah.
grace and integrity and love in your heart for you, yeah, and everyone
We're,
else.
we're gonna we're gonna be seeing you in the flesh in 2020. I already know. I got the
Yay!
download.
I can't wait.
Yeah. I'll make sure and put some kind of gathering together with the stage and microphone. You bring your guitar.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah,
be so cool. So many musos to jam with, yeah.
man. Yeah, I feel gatherings coming. I mean, a lot of people talking about it, but yeah, I feel like it not just because, like from a Soulogy standpoint, but I feel like people are just coming together. It's the next thing. I mean, you know, it's amazing these people that are just packing up their stuff and going. I read about a sister today, and she's like, you know what? I'm going to go across country in America. I'm going to go meet a friend, and here we go.
We're
That's
all cosmic
that's that's
nomads.
ballsy too. But you know
Yeah,
what? There's a lot of people doing it, and it is, there's some traction to it now, and it's an expanding physical representation of the sovereignty, freedom, frequency. It really is.
yeah.
I appreciate you, love you, and thank you for
Love
the
you too.
continued support and contributions. I really appreciate it. I'm not sure if I got back to you on that last one,
You did. You did.
but it it's God, it's it's getting better for everybody.
Yeah,
That I
it
can
is.
say.
The support is
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
That all the support is there, and
yeah,
those things that when you need them, they're available now. 10 years, it used to
yeah,
be different. You could make a statement, it didn't
yeah,
work. Now it does,
yeah,
and all the
yeah.
support here for us as we're moving forward. So
That's
much
right.
love to everybody, and
Mm.
thank you, thank
Thank
you.
you. Tell your mom hi. Give
I
her a
will.
third eye kiss for me. That's even better. Give her a
Okay.
third eye kiss.